There you go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is a monthly Coffee with Chris webinar. Today you have me. My name is Dakota. I'll introduce myself here in a second. But today's session, we're going to focus on looking at the connection between Shopify and Business Central. We'll explore some of the benefits that Shopify and Business Central provide, talk a little bit with one of our subject matter experts about her experience with Shopify and the kind of power that it brings. And then we'll get into a demo showcasing just how that integration works. So to begin with, hi everyone, my name is Dakota Hawkins. I'm a certified Business Central and PrintViz consultant here at Clients First, currently working as a Business Central project manager. And today I'll be the Shopify webinar lead. With me today is Amy Servey. She's our PrintViz practice manager here at Clients First. E-commerce and omni-channel SME, has a lot of experience working with solutions like Shopify and setting them up. Amy's going to talk through a little bit here about why you might want to choose Shopify and her experience with it.
Okay, so this is where I pick up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So why Shopify? So, this has been a recent addition to the Dynamics Business Central platform, where it's now a native integration between the two products. I'm not going to, speculate why Microsoft chose Shopify as, its kind of native e-commerce platform, but it's fair to say that this product is making considerable inroads in the SMB space. The product itself, dates back many years ago, where the owner of a snowboard company, two owners were trying to create stickers for snowboards in their garage. And when they realized that they didn't have a really good way to sell their product online, they decided to just go out and create their own e-commerce platform. And fast forward to today, now we're looking at Shopify processing over $200 billion in transactions a year, which is significant. It makes them one of the largest players in the e-commerce space. I noted here that it's one of the more friendlier platforms that communicates with Google. And for those of you that are already merchants dealing with B2C or even B2B selling, that your platform has to work really well with Google in order, especially if you're doing any sort of digital marketing or SEO. The reason that Shopify is actually a really good tool with Google is it's got what's considered coordinated site structure. And what that means is that its structure is designed to work really well with Google, so Google can crawl your site. Additionally, merchants can structure their content with things like heading tags. So you can, call things out like H1, H2, et cetera, which makes it easier in Shopify for Google to, again, advance via SEO. And then lastly, one of the other things that makes it really great to work with Google is the way it manages meta titles, descriptions, and redirects, does that really, really well compared to other platforms that are out there. And again, there's a place for all of those, the WooCommerces of the world, BigCommerce, and some of the maybe even, Business Central or Nav specific tools that maybe some of our attendees already have in play. But again, there's some real company advantages here using Shopify. So let me bring, as Dakota mentioned, some of my own personal experience working with Shopify. So back in 2020, I was actually the CIO of a company that was both a millwork and manufacturer and a graphics print company. They're a tier 3 automotive supplier here in Michigan, where I live. And they were working through, in March of 2020, much of, what most companies were working with, which is, how do we survive, becoming non-essential during COVID. So I got a call from the CEO and he said, Amy, how fast can you spin up a website? And at the time, the only platform that they had was WordPress and WooCommerce. And I said, well, how many products are you talking? And he says, well, I'm thinking like I don't know, half a dozen or so. Well, as most CEOs who have a vision, if they're told, yes, they can do it with six becomes 20, 20 becomes 100, and 100 becomes 200 products. And before I knew it, there was this, catalog of products that were, just variations of different printed products, variations of acrylic sneeze guards and things that the company was getting involved with. And it just became this very, very large catalog of information that had to be created. And so I was given 6 days to do this. And in long days and long nights, we were able to pull it off. It was integrated with several different systems that the company had at the time. And funny enough, they were already evaluating Business Central. Getting through this was, very challenging on WordPress and WooCommerce. We were able to get it up and going. And in about, less than 60 days, we did about 1.7 million. And then lo and behold, during this process, of which I had no life, I'll tell you that, we started having conversations about replatforming, and we evaluated a couple other systems and decided on Shopify. And in June of that same year of 2020, we replatformed onto Shopify. And not only were the integrations a lot easier to manage and to pull off, to be honest, and that included, again, an accounting system, a CRM system, a print product that handles workflow from Esco, ShipStation, a quoting and estimating tool for custom jobs. This company went from a project-based company doing, 20 to 25 large multi-million-dollar projects a year to becoming a mini Amazon in the attempt to try to stay relevant and survive. So Shopify was just that sales tool that we really needed to keep things going. And within 7 months, you can see that we did quite a bit more on Shopify, did 12.8 million, again, selling the products that were keeping us essential. So what happened for me was, again, better integration, easier to do, easier to manage. Our Google relationship went exponentially up, and I got my life back. So these are important things when you think about, managing your e-commerce platform today.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. I think that's really valuable. We'll hopefully demonstrate a little bit about some of those ease of integrations and just what you can accomplish with it. I think just to wrap things up here, before we get into the demo, there's a lot of reasons why integrating between Shopify and Business Central is a smart idea. We have that seamless workflow, improved operational efficiency, and you get the visibility into your business that an ERP system like Business Central can provide with a leading e-commerce platform attached to it. So for the demo itself, we're going to break it up into a couple different sections here. To begin, I want to walk through just Shopify setups, how we create a shop and what that looks like in Business Central. Then I'll touch a little bit on items, orders, and how they flow from Shopify into Business Central and how we can work with those orders in Business Central itself. Then I'll do the opposite. We'll take an item that we have in Business Central, maybe modify its price, change some of the descriptions on it, so you can see how that translates again in real time with that bidirectional flow of data from Business Central to Shopify. Along with that, we'll sprinkle in a little bit of showcasing the new functionality of Copilot that's being brought by Microsoft. For those of you who don't know, Copilot is Microsoft's new AI initiative. You'll see that it's worked into Business Central right now. This is really just a first pass of a much larger vision that Microsoft has for its AI advancements in Business Central. And you'll see a little bit just how that can help flesh out this larger integration to Shopify itself. So to begin with, I'm going to start in Business Central. So this is my general Business Central instance. You'll see that built into this already is a tab of Shopify quick selections up here, as well as, if I scroll down, quick tiles that I can use to view any unmapped customers, products, orders, or shipments that I might want to look at. we're getting some of that key visibility that we're used to in Business Central into some of our Shopify setups here. Now, the core of the Shopify connection is the shop. So on this page, I can connect my Shopify store to my Business Central instance. And here I would be able to connect multiple different Shopify stores to a single Business Central instance. If I had multiple lines of business, each of them dealing with different kinds of items, I would be able to manage all of those different shops just from this page. Clicking into the Shopify card, you can see that there's a lot of components that go into this, but really the standard setup of it is very simple. I'm telling the system what my Shopify URL is and how I want to pass data back and forth. So for my item, price, customer, and order synchronization, I can easily set standards. I can set default customers if I wanted to track a Shopify customer in my system. And I can understand exactly when and how the sync between those data happen. So as you can see here, I have a number of different items and products that I can sync across. And I can set this up so that it happens in the background every 5-10 minutes or at the end of every day. If I click into my related section, you can see that I have a couple different options here when I'm looking at how I set up my Shopify shop. For locations, I can designate certain warehouse locations for a specific Shopify store that I work with. So if I know that I exclusively want to pull inventory for my Shopify line of business from my main warehouse location, I can set that up here. This also allows me, if I had multiple different stores with multiple different kinds of inventory being sold, I could set them at each different location, keep that organization. I'm going to click into my products page here, just so you can see a little bit about how the product mapping happens from Business Central to Shopify. So I'm here on my Shopify products page. On this page, I can do a variety of different actions. I can map certain products if I have ones that I need to connect. I can click on any of the items coming from my system. Now, these are items that I have within Business Central. If I click into them, you can see their full item card with all of the relevant information and any variants that I'm selling on Shopify. So if I had one item and several different SKUs that go along with that, I can represent that within my Shopify variants here. Say a chair that I wanted to select between blue, green, and red, you would be able to see each of those subvariants of blue, green, and red here below. Now, if I want to add items, I can do so in bulk via the Add Items action. Now, what this allows me to do is add items based on a number of different filtered categories. So here, let's say I'm selling office chairs in my e-shop. So I've selected the item category code of chair, and I've brought in all of the office chairs that I have in my standard Business Central demo environment. Each of these, again, has their own item card, and the item card itself, as we'll see here a little bit later in the demo, drives the information like price, inventory levels, and even some of my shipping or replenishment into Shopify itself. So that's my products. If I go back into my main shop here, the last thing that I want to highlight before we touch into our Shopify instance is our customers. So via the customer syncs here, I can set a standard customer template code. If I know, a customer in my Shopify store logs in, they fill out all of their information, they want to maybe keep things in their cart, store it over long term. The customer template allows me to take all of my customers' information from Shopify and pull it into Business Central with the correct formatting and with the correct fields mapped. For a default customer, if I have, say, guest customers on my Shopify store who are checking out, I can create a default Shopify customer that can capture any of those orders. I don't have a default customer right now because my line of business, I want to know, who's ordering, or if I can fill that out later, I may be able to. But again, just another way that you can set up the system so you set it once and don't have to think about it again. So I'm monitoring the chat here a little bit as we're moving in between. There will be time for questions at the end. So if you have any, please put them in, and either Amy or myself will answer as we go. So now let's actually click into our Shopify instance and see what it might look like to take an order and move it through the system. So this is my Shopify backend. I have a pretty standard store here, with typical amount of Shopify interface. I don't want to touch too much on the Shopify backend here. What I really want to explore is how we can get an order from Shopify's cart into Business Central and the capabilities that that provides. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to actually go to my main store. So this is my general Cronus Print Shop store. And if I scroll down, you can see that all of the items that I had pulled in from Business Central were not only represented here in Shopify with their images and the correct prices, but it also shows their inventory levels. So clicking here, you can see Shopify is automatically recognizing that this is sold out. I don't have any in inventory in Business Central, so I won't be able to buy any in my Shopify store. Again, because of synchronizations and that bidirectional data, this can happen in real time. You'll also notice that my item attributes from Business Central are pulled into this sheet as well. So as a customer, I'm reviewing these, and I really like, let's say this, I want to get 2 of my Berlin guest chairs here. I'm going to just add that to my cart and then keep shopping. So let's say I want to add as well, maybe 3 swivel chairs, and I'll check out. Now, in this checkout process, I'm filling out contact information that can be pulled into Business Central. But really, what I want to highlight here is that my shipping method can be mapped from what I set in Business Central to Shopify here. So, I can have shipping rules that allow for any package over 50 pounds to ship for free, any package under 50 pounds to have a certain amount of shipping cost associated to that. Any of these mappings happen, again, through the way that we're setting up our Shopify store in Business Central. From here, I'm actually going to peek behind the curtain a little bit and create an order. I don't want to fill out my payment information here for any of you, so I'm just going to do it manually on the back end so we can kind of see how an order might run through. So I'm going to select these 2 again for my order. And I believe I said I wanted 2 and 3. So I've created this order. I can now see it's 1008 in my Shopify store. If I click into this, I can see some of the components where it should be shipped to, whether or not it's been fulfilled, my payment information. But what I can also see here is real-time updates for what's happening with this order. Anytime I make a change or I complete a fulfillment in Business Central, it'll be reflected here in the timeline of this job, of this order, and I can make comments as necessary as well. So I'm going to go back into Business Central, and I'm going to look at my orders. So from my orders here, I'm going to just tell it that I'd like to sync it automatically. I can set parameters for how I want to pull in certain orders, but I actually just want to sync everything here. So I'm going to give it a quick second to load and finish that sync. And as I click back in, you can see 1008 is now in Business Central. Clicking into this order, I can see the components. This is my Shopify order page. And what this allows me to do is see individual components like what I'm actually selling, the invoice details, and if I had any standard shipping information, like a different ship to and bill to line, I could do that here. If I didn't have a customer attached to this, I could set a default customer, or if I knew that this was for a certain corporation, I could send that and fill in on this page. From here, from my order, I can do a couple things. Chief among them, I think, is looking at the risks for this job. Now, these Shopify risks are created just in Shopify's process. It's understanding, where you're shipping it to, the credit card payment information, the billing address that you have, and it's analyzing those and giving you a risk analysis, saying high, medium, low risk. Those are pulled in directly and are able to be viewed on my Shopify order itself. And you can see it actually gives me that detailed risk level for the job itself. If I wanted to look into my shipment mapping and see how that's actually happening, I can do that here via the shipping costs functionality. Here as well, I can actually create a unique Business Central sales order that will then take me through the rest of the Business Central fulfillment process. So in just creating a sales order, I can click into the similar ones of this customer just so we can see what that might look like. But in creating these, I'm then navigating the exact same way I would in a normal Business Central instance without the integration. I'm understanding what the line items are, where this is going to, and any of the invoice details. And from here, upon releasing and posting this as a shipment or shipping it out to the customer, it's going to reflect on my Shopify order as fulfilled. The second I take that sales order, close it, and ship it out, Business Central will mark that as fulfilled. And because Business Central marks that as fulfilled, it will then go to my Shopify order and click in as fulfilled here. I can do this manually here quickly. Just say, okay, yes, I've completed all of them, taken care of. Now that I have those fulfilled, you can see a slight difference here. I'll click back and sync one more time, just so we can see how quickly those changes can happen. And again, we'll click out, click back into our orders to see that I have change in fulfillment. So this is really understanding from ordering as a customer in a Shopify store, how that then translates all the way back to Business Central, and how Business Central can take that data and complete the shipment itself. Now I want to work in reverse. I want to take an item that we have, change it, modify it within Business Central, and then push that out into Shopify so we can see those changes made in real time on my Shopify store online. I'm going to actually click into my products so we can see which one we might want to change here. So we had a certain affinity for my Berlin guest chair here. So I'm going to take this and actually just look into what that item is. 1936. So I'm going to click into this item, and I'm going to make some changes to it. So I have a set standard price that I'm selling this for right now, but that might not be what I want to continue to sell that as. So I might want to bump up my profit a little bit here. I'm going to now sell this for $210. Now, in updating this, I'm giving it an updated price that I want to then move that to Shopify. I could change any number of things here. If I wanted to update my title, just clear that up a bit, I could do that as well. Now, here's where I'm going to touch on a little bit of Copilot functionality and how we can leverage AI in Business Central to improve our Shopify store experience. You can see a little bit down here as my marketing text, create with Copilot. I can access this in two ways. Via the fact box over here on the left, or by clicking in to my marketing text field. Now, I want Copilot to make this description for me. So what I'm going to tell it to do, I want a tagline and a paragraph. I'd like it to be creative and maybe emphasize the elegance of it. By selecting Create Draft, now giving this over to Copilot to create a tagline and a paragraph that can then move to my Shopify store. So here you can see, shine bright with Berlin guest chair, elegance embodied. All of this written in a matter of seconds and pulling in my specific item attributes that I have set on this item and creating it in a creative tone. So maybe I read this, it doesn't look exactly how I want it to. I want it to be a little bit more upbeat. So here we can see a little bit more upbeat, a little bit changed here. Any of these are quickly done with just a click of a button and allow me to create some of these standard briefings. I think that looks pretty good, giving a general idea of what it looks like, the attributes, and some of our timeless design from the 1940 I did not give it that information. It is looking at the image and the item itself, and then creating that to say what a classic design from 1940. Again, very powerful here. We are just at the bare surface of what AI can actually do. So I think that looks great. I'm going to say okay. You can see my marketing text is pulled in there. And now I actually want to come in, if I can sync this onto my store. So I'm going to go back into my Shopify store. And I'm going to tell it that I'd like it to sync all of my products. So that's happening in the background here. As it's happening, I'm going to click back into my Shopify home just so we can see what that might look like. Give it a second. Let's see how it's coming along. Okay, let me add in this new item so we can actually see it. So instead of an item category, I'm going to actually select the item number itself. So I can do this in bulk fashion. I can bring in many of them, or I can bring in specific items that I want updated. So you can see, I'm going to now just bring in this item. And it's working on that in the background. So now that I have that sync in process, I'm going to reload and see my updated items, as well as coming back into my main Cronus print shop. Now let's see here. This product will now show in my overall. I'm seeing a question of, would Copilot create product descriptions in multiple languages? Let's see. If I edit this tool here. So I believe right now, the idea is that it is exclusively in English, but it's just the Business Central instance that we're working in right now. So Business Central comes in multiple different languages. I'm sure Copilot would have that functionality as well. So adding this item in here, syncing it to my product shop will allow me to see this in my store in real time with my updated description. I'm going to just make sure that I'm pulling in all of my item marketing text. And I'll sync those products one more time. the sync is finally completed. I can now see that I've changed my price to 210, reflects automatically on my shop floor here, or on my Shopify shop. And I believe I need to set it up so that it gives a description, but the description that we created with Copilot would pull in automatically here to give that quick rundown. So that is the main connection both ways, creating not only an order in Shopify and moving that to Business Central, but updating and changing items from Business Central and moving that into Shopify. Touched a little bit on Copilot functionality and what we're able to do with that just at the start. But that's really what I wanted to showcase here today. We have a little bit of extra time here. I'm happy to answer any questions. We go over any topics that we need to. I know Amy's been answering some in the chat as we go here, but please feel free to reach out if you have any.
Yeah, and in case people aren't monitoring the chat, Jesse from Westinghouse has been posing some questions around just some general topics specific to B2B companies, and can Shopify be leveraged for B2B companies? The answer is yes. You can actually use Shopify to create portals for B2B relationships. I've done it and it works really, really well. We've talked a little bit about the different versions of Shopify. If you're not familiar with those, there's the basic, advanced, and then there's the plus. For those companies that are using basic and advanced, you've got some limitations relative to configuration of the shopping cart and the ability to modify the code, which is liquid, sits behind Shopify. It's not that hard to learn, fairly straightforward, but in those lower level versions, you don't have access to modification of the shopping cart. And I can't imagine in a lot of cases, especially with some of the complicated shipping requirements and things from different states, that shopping cart, as it stands, unless you're a startup, is sufficient enough out of the box. So Shopify Plus is the only level that you can make that change, or you make those modifications to the shopping cart. So you can take everything up to that point and modify your theme and do all the aesthetic things to it. But in terms of the shopping cart itself, if you want to move a button or add a disclaimer or things like that, you have to have a certain level of Shopify to be able to do that. We've talked a little bit about integration to Business Central and kind of how to manage multiple sites in different countries. And again, Shopify Plus, one of the advantages to that is you get 15 different stores underneath a Shopify Plus account. So that's fair amount. There's some restrictions that Shopify has on the types of stores that you can leverage within Shopify Plus. So you can't, be reselling skateboards in one shop and then you makeup in another shop. They all have to be sort of what they call related businesses. So if for those that have companies that are just, separate entities, similar product, even similar look and feel, Shopify Plus is a really good fit for that. And with Business Central, there's no restriction on the integration or connection to which Shopify version. So those are some of the questions that have been asked thus far. And I did quickly
another one.
Yeah,
it was keep going, Amy.
Yeah, multiple languages. I looked it up real quick and the answer is yes. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll say as well, question, can I use BC price list instead of unit price on the item with that sync? So yes, we can actually set up specific customer price groups, discount groups, all of that logic that's in Business Central, if it's applied to an item, can be synced to Shopify.
And then there was another question, all attributes we would want to display on the site would need to reside on the item attributes of product in Business Central. Are there any max limitation?
don't believe that there are. You know, it's the limitation would be from Business Central, not necessarily as a part of that integration. So anything that you're really putting in item attributes on BC would be able to sync over to Shopify itself.
Okay.
There are, oh, okay, yes. Does Shopify support multiple warehouses? Yes. So via the Shopify locations, I can select which store or which location I have certain products in, and I can designate those across X number of warehouses, and even you know, within a warehouse, what location that looks like. So the support of multiple warehouses in BC is the kind of foundation that supports that Shopify for multiple. Perfect timing to an issue here. So if a new customer creates an order, can it automatically create the customer when creating the BC using the customer template? Yes. So long as they fill out the relevant information on that specific Shopify you know, login, if they're creating their profile, it'll pull in via that mapping anything that's really relevant into that field. So yes. Looking, so future looking, would it be possible to leverage the PIM in that to update BC products and ultimately update Shopify? In the past, we looked for, so I would assume yes. You know, so long as you're updating Business Central, the connection there is between Business Central and Shopify. So I don't think it would necessarily need to influence that. You can keep your items and those kind of general updates to items in Business Central as a separate operation that happens. And because that sync occurs, you know, every 5 minutes or however frequently you ask it to, that will update Shopify as well. So all the synchronization that Dakota was doing manual to Shopify pushes could be done set up automatically via the job queue. Yes. So all of those things that I was doing, you saw pop up the job queue instance. Those can be set for however frequently or infrequently you want them to run. So, you know, you could have them run at the end of every day and kind of update general quantities, or you could have specific components like orders update every 5 minutes, and then maybe have broader item changes occur every, you know, maybe week or so, or end of day if you need it. Those are all really great questions. Please keep them coming if you have any that are coming in.
No problem. No problem, Jesse. All right. I think that's it, Dakota.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you all for attending. I appreciate the time here. Oh, do you have any? So yeah, Amy's, you got it, Amy. Amy's answering that. I'll close down the share here. If you do have any more questions, please reach out to anybody at Clients First. Amy is our subject matter expert, but all of us can answer any number of these questions and get on a call if we need to explore them a little bit further. So again, thank you for your time here. I appreciate you all attending. Reach out if you have any major questions. Amy, anything final you wanted to say?
No, thanks, Dakota, for your hard work. And Chris is on the call too. So coffee with Chris. Thanks for joining. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.